Hey, I'm Tom from the Self-Publishing Formula, and this video is all about the importance of word counts. Keep watching. It's a horrible and unfortunate situation that a lot of writers find themselves in, where they get halfway through a novel, and what's supposed to be a grand epic tome turns out to actually be more of a novella. And it can be quite distressing because suddenly this image of the book that you've had has been shattered, and you have all these fears that you're not going to be able to bring it to market. So do word counts, and for that matter page counts, actually matter? The short answer is no. But that means you already know what the long answer is going to be. Think about it. Would you rather read 1,000 pages of absolute fluff or 100 pages of sheer brilliance? Think of it like a film. Gravity is 91 minutes long, and it's critically acclaimed. No one's going to try to argue that Batman vs Superman is a better film just because it's longer. Equally, the Mona Lisa isn't rubbish because Leonardo da Vinci didn't paint it the size of a house. Shouldn't art be as long as it needs to be, no more or no less? If you're writing solely as a business, maybe word counts matter. But if you're writing for the love of it, to create art, then why would you want that to be constrained by something as trivial as a reader's expectations? Surely you're supposed to be shattering them. So let's look at some examples of word counts. War and Peace and Ayn Rand's Atlas Shrugged are both massive books, unnecessarily massive books. You're not going to take one of them down to the beach for a bit of light reading. But on the other hand, Stephen King and George R.R. Martin create equally massive books that are tremendously popular. And on the smaller end of the spectrum, you've got books like The Great Gatsby at 47,000 words, Lord of the Flies at just under 60,000, and even modern novels like John Green's The Fault in Our Stars comes to about 67,000 words. Now, a reader is going to notice that these books are shorter, but that doesn't mean that they're going to think that they're worse. They may well think that they're better. So what actually is a novel? There doesn't seem to be a strict definition. Wikipedia has a pretty decent one of a novel is a long fictional narrative which describes intimate human experiences. But how long is long? Now, the science fiction and fantasy writers of America has developed what is probably the best list for working out a specific word count. A novel is 40,000 words or more. A novella, 17,500 to 39,999. A novelette, 7,500 to 17,499, and a short story is anything under 7,500 words. Now, you're probably, like me, listening to that list and thinking, that's a load of rubbish. What even is a novelette? I don't really know. I personally would feel a little awkward explaining to friends and family that my new book was a novelette because it just sounds a bit pretentious. Why not call it a novella? Why not just call it a book? And yet others will probably be thinking, no, these definitions are very, very important. But the one thing we can take from it is that word counts probably mean less than they ever have, because we can all debate till the moon comes up what it actually means. Then, of course, there's the issue of genre. An epic fantasy, like an epic fantasy, is going to be, by its very nature, a lot longer than perhaps some classic literary sci-fi. We're talking word counts of 150,000 as a given for one genre and 50,000 for another. Do we have to reshape the expectations for word counts dependent on genre, or just the medium as a whole? Okay, so maybe it doesn't matter what your word count is, because there's no strict definition of a novel or a novella, and writing is whatever you want it to be, so maybe it doesn't matter. But there's a whole host of other reasons why you might want to keep things short. For one, people's attention spans aren't what they used to be. If you don't hook someone's attention within 8 seconds of a YouTube video, they're gone. And even big-name authors like James Patterson have picked up on this. He's created Bookshots, a series of short novels. Kindle have created Kindle Singles, novels, or rather books, of under 30,000 words in length. That's shorter than even the smallest definition of what a novel can be. And that leads me to what is, I think, one of the best pieces of advice in regard to any form of art, which is to keep things concise. If you don't need it in there, get rid of it. The best editing should result in a novel that is shorter than when you started. And then there's the fact that most indie authors write with e-readers in mind. You don't have to worry about a large spine sticking out on a bookshelf catching someone's attention, because it's all digital. Whereas before, someone would look at a book, see the large page count and think quantity over quality. Now it really is quality over quantity. But all that leads me to the long answer, which is that yes, word counts do matter in regard to marketing. You will need to research, if you're writing to market, what word count your reader will expect. If someone's used to reading 110,000 word thriller novels, they will hesitate to buy your novel if it's only 45,000 words long. Now, if there's good word of mouth about your book, if you've got loads of good reviews and your cover's fantastic and they go in the look inside and it all reads brilliantly, they may very well overlook that. They should. They probably will. But you're still having a little barrier in that people's expectations play a large part in how they buy. So they might feel like they're not getting as great value for money as if they went to James Patterson and paid full price for a bigger book. Of course, if you're charging less because it's a smaller book, that may offset that reader's expectations. But let's take our marketing hats off for a second. At the end of the day, you're the writer. The writing landscape has changed. You don't have a publisher breathing down your neck telling you that you have to have a spine that thick. You don't have this market where a novella is impossible to publish as it used to be. Short stories, you can publish a short story of 10,000 words by itself if you want. You can publish whatever you want now, which wasn't possible prior to e-readers like the Kindle coming around. So it's completely up to you. Should you take into account a word count when writing your book in terms of writing something that will sell? Yes, of course. But should you take a word count into account when writing something that you're passionate about into something that you consider art? Absolutely not. Okay, so that was our video on the importance of word counts. Hope you enjoyed it. If you did, make sure to subscribe to the Self-Publishing Formula channel and leave a comment about how long your next book's going to be. See you next time.